out of that early morning wake-up call in Southern California, 4.2 magnitude earthquake.
California, where the governor is asking the White House for help.
Earthquake.
Yep.
We're having an earthquake.
We're experiencing very strong shaking.
California, known for its seismic activity, has been anticipating a major earthquake for quite some time. Numerous factors influence earthquake occurrence, including tectonic plate movements, fault interactions, and stress accumulation. A recent study suggests that a nearby body of water may have an impact on the San Andreas Fault, shedding light on why a major earthquake along the fault line has been long overdue. Led by researcher Riley Hill, the study investigates the potential influence of a nearby body of water on seismic activity. While geological processes are the primary drivers, some researchers have speculated about the potential influence of dried-up lakes on seismic activity. What is happening beneath the dried-up lake? Let's find out. Understanding earthquakes and tectonic activity. To comprehend the potential connection between dried-up lakes and earthquakes, it's crucial to grasp the fundamental principles of seismic activity. Earthquakes occur due to the movement of tectonic plates, which cover the Earth's surface. These plates are constantly shifting and interacting along fault lines, which are fractures in the Earth's crust. The accumulation of stress along the faults eventually exceeds their strength, leading to a sudden release of energy in the form of an earthquake. The San Andreas Fault, running through California, is a well-known example of a major fault system. It represents the boundary between the Pacific and North American tectonic plates, where significant seismic activity occurs. Understanding the behavior of these plates and the fault systems is crucial for evaluating the hypothesis linking dried-up lakes to major earthquakes. The primary tectonic feature responsible for seismic activity in California is the San Andreas Fault, a major transform boundary. The San Andreas Fault system extends approximately 800 miles or 1,300 kilometers through the state, dividing the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate. This fault accommodates the horizontal motion between the two plates, resulting in earthquakes when stress is released. The San Andreas Fault is not a single continuous fault line, but rather a complex system of interconnected faults. It consists of several segments, each capable of producing significant earthquakes. The most well-known segments are the southern portion, which runs through the highly populated regions of Southern California, and the northern portion, which extends to the San Francisco Bay Area towards the northwest. Apart from the San Andreas Fault, California is also home to other major faults, including the Hayward Fault, the San Jacinto Fault, and the Calaveras Fault, among others. These faults contribute to the overall seismicity of the state and pose additional earthquake hazards. The tectonic activity in California is driven by the Pacific Plate's northwestern movement relative to the North American Plate. The Pacific Plate moves at a rate of approximately 2 inches or 5 centimeters per year, causing stress to accumulate along the faults. Eventually, this stress is released through earthquakes when the frictional resistance on the faults is overcome. It's important to note that earthquakes in California can vary in magnitude, from minor tremors that are barely felt to major events with significant consequences. The state has experienced numerous notable earthquakes throughout its history, such as the 1906 San Francisco earthquake and the 1994 Northridge earthquake. Given the seismic hazards in California, extensive efforts are in place to monitor and mitigate earthquake risks. The United States Geological Survey, or USGS, operates a network of seismometers and monitoring stations throughout the state so they can detect and record seismic activity. This data is crucial for studying earthquake patterns, assessing fault behavior, and improving earthquake forecasting. Seismic activity. Dried-up lakes, also known as playa lakes or ephemeral lakes, are bodies of water that experience fluctuations in water levels due to changes in precipitation, evaporation, or human activities such as water extraction. When these lakes dry up, their potential influence on seismic activity can be attributed to several proposed mechanisms. One hypothesis suggests that water acts as a lubricant along faults, reducing friction and facilitating the sliding of tectonic plates. As water levels in dried-up lakes decrease, the loss of lubrication could increase stress accumulation along fault lines. The accumulated stress may eventually reach a threshold that triggers an earthquake. Another hypothesis involves changes in pore pressure within the Earth's crust. When a lake dries up, the reduction in water pressure can cause changes in the stress distribution along faults. These changes in pore pressure might affect the stability of faults, potentially altering the conditions necessary for an earthquake to occur. But it's important to note that the influence of dried-up lakes on seismic activity is considered to be a secondary or indirect factor in comparison to the primary drivers, such as tectonic forces and fault interactions. The accumulation and release of stress along major fault systems, like the San Andreas Fault, are the primary causes of earthquakes in California. While dried-up lakes may contribute to stress distribution on faults, it's crucial to consider the broader context of tectonic forces and geological processes. Earthquakes result from the release of accumulated stress over time, and the interaction of tectonic plates along fault lines plays a fundamental role. It's also important to recognize that California's seismic activity and the potential for major earthquakes are primarily driven by the complex tectonic interactions along the plate boundaries, rather than isolated factors such as dried-up lakes. The Pacific and North American plates continually interact along the San Andreas Fault and other major fault systems, leading to the accumulation and release of stress that can result in earthquakes. To understand the relationship between dried-up lakes and seismic activity in California, ongoing scientific research is necessary. Scientists and seismologists employ various methods, including field studies, laboratory experiments, and computer modeling, to investigate potential links and assess their significance. While the influence of dried-up lakes on seismic activity in California is a topic of scientific interest, it's not yet fully understood. Dried-up lakes may have secondary effects on stress distribution along fault lines, but they're not considered primary triggers of major earthquakes. To fully comprehend the complexities of seismic activity in California, it's essential to consider a range of factors, including tectonic forces, fault interactions, and geological processes, while continuing scientific research in this field. If you're liking the video so far, make sure to subscribe to the channel. The role of Lake Cahuilla. The researchers propose that the filling and draining cycles of Lake Cahuilla, which is located in what is now the Coachella and Imperial Valleys, played a crucial role in stabilizing the southern San Andreas Fault. They found that major earthquakes along the fault line tend to coincide with the lake being either full or in the process of filling with water from the Colorado River. This discovery suggests that the weight of the large body of water exerted pressure on the fault, potentially releasing accumulated stress and preventing seismic activity. Implications of Lake Cahuilla's disappearance. Over the past 3 centuries, Lake Cahuilla gradually dried out, leaving behind only the Salton Sea as a remnant. The authors of this study believe that the gradual emptying of the ancient lake contributed to the accumulation of tension in the fault, akin to stretching a taut rubber band. As a result, the potential energy stored in the fault has increased, raising concerns about the possibility of a significant earthquake in the near future. Seismic hazard and risk. The Southern Andreas Fault, which is a part of a network of faults running across California, poses a significant seismic hazard due to its proximity to highly populated areas. With approximately 10 million people residing in Los Angeles County alone, the potential impact of a major earthquake on this fault is a cause for concern. The 1994 Northridge earthquake, although not directly caused by the main San Andreas Fault, resulted in over 70 fatalities and $20 billion in damages. Seismologists warn that the longer the interval since the major earthquake, the greater the accumulated tension and the higher the likelihood of a significant seismic event occurring. Lake Cahuilla and rehabilitation efforts. The recent research findings have raised important questions about the ongoing efforts to rehabilitate parts of the Salton Sea. Originally formed in the early 1900s when an irrigation canal burst, the Salton Sea has become highly polluted and is shrinking. To address these issues, various plans have been proposed, including importing desalinated seawater and diverting Colorado River allocations. However, the study's authors caution that significant changes in the water level of the Salton Sea could potentially trigger seismic activity. Therefore, a careful balance must be struck between environmental rehabilitation and the associated risks of exacerbating seismic hazards. The hypothesis suggesting a link between dried-up lakes and California's overdue major earthquake raises intriguing questions about the complexities of seismic activity. While the influence of dried-up lakes on fault behavior remains an area of ongoing research, it's crucial to approach the topic with caution and rely on scientifically supported evidence. Understanding earthquakes requires a comprehensive analysis of tectonic plate interactions, fault systems, stress accumulation, and geological processes. While dried-up lakes may contribute to the stress distribution on faults, it's important to consider them as secondary factors in the context of broader geological forces. What do you think of this phenomenon? Let us know in the comments section below, and make sure to like the video. Thank you for watching.